What if I told you that right now, somewhere in Connecticut, there's a doll sitting in a locked glass case that has been responsible for multiple deaths, mysterious accidents, and terrifying supernatural encounters? This isn't fiction. This isn't a movie plot. This is the real story of Annabelle, the world's most haunted doll. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why even the most experienced paranormal investigators refuse to be alone with her. Our story begins in 1970 in a small hobby shop where an innocent purchase would change lives forever. A caring mother was looking for the perfect birthday gift for her 28-year-old daughter, Donna, who worked as a nurse. She spotted a beautiful Raggedy Ann doll, soft fabric, curly hair, button eyes, and that classic red triangle nose. It seemed perfect, harmless, even comforting. Donna loved the gift. She lived in a small apartment with her roommate Angie, and the doll became a charming addition to her bedroom. She placed it on her bed as decoration, never imagining that this simple act would invite something sinister into her life. But there was someone who immediately sensed something was wrong. Lou, a frequent visitor and friend of both girls, felt an inexplicable unease around the doll from the very first day. He warned Donna that something wasn't right, that the doll gave him an overwhelming sense of dread. But who listens to warnings about a harmless toy? Within days, both Donna and Angie began noticing impossible things. The doll would move on its own, not dramatic Hollywood-style movements, but subtle, terrifying changes that defied explanation. They would leave Annabelle sitting on the couch, only to return home and find her on the bed. Sometimes her legs would be crossed when they were certain they had been straight. Her arms would be folded when they remembered leaving them at her side. At first, they rationalized it. Maybe they were misremembering, maybe one of them was moving the doll and forgetting about it. But these explanations became impossible to maintain when they started finding the doll in completely different rooms. Rooms where neither of them had been. The situation escalated when they discovered something that still sends chills down the spines of paranormal investigators today. They came home to find pieces of parchment paper scattered on their floor. Paper they had never owned. Written in childlike handwriting were desperate pleas. Help us and help Lou. The messages were disturbing enough, but what Donna discovered next made her blood run cold. She examined the doll closely and found what appeared to be drops of blood on its chest and hands, fresh blood, on a fabric doll that shouldn't be capable of bleeding. Desperate for answers, they contacted a medium who revealed a heartbreaking story. The spirit communicating through the doll claimed to be Annabelle Higgins, a 7-year-old girl who had died tragically in the very field where their apartment building now stood. The spirit said she felt safe with Donna and Angie, that she just wanted to stay with them, to be loved and cared for. Moved by this story, Donna decided to let the spirit remain. It seemed harmless enough, a lonely child's ghost seeking comfort. But this decision would prove to be a terrible mistake, because the entity inhabiting the doll was not what it claimed to be. Lou, who had been suspicious from the beginning, became the primary target of whatever was truly inhabiting the doll. One night he experienced something that would haunt him forever. He woke up in the middle of the night, paralyzed, unable to move or speak. As he struggled to understand what was happening, he looked down and saw Annabelle at his feet. The doll began to move up his body slowly, deliberately, with malicious intent. It climbed onto his chest and began to strangle him. Lou couldn't breathe, couldn't fight back, couldn't even scream. Just as he thought he was going to die, everything went black. When he woke up the next morning, he tried to convince himself it had been a nightmare, but the terror in his memory felt too real, too vivid. Unfortunately, this was only the beginning. A few days later, Lou was examining the doll when he heard strange sounds coming from Donna's room. As he approached to investigate, he felt a searing pain across his chest. He looked down to see his shirt becoming stained with blood. When he tore it open, he discovered 7 claw marks, 3 vertical and 4 horizontal, burned into his flesh like brands. The marks were hot to the touch, like fresh burns, and they were deep enough to leave permanent scars. This was no hallucination, no nightmare, no psychological manifestation. Something had physically attacked him, and the evidence was carved into his body. Realizing they were dealing with something far more dangerous than a lonely child's spirit, Donna and Angie contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous paranormal investigators who would later become household names. When the Warrens examined the doll, they made a chilling discovery that there was no spirit of a little girl named Annabelle Higgins. There had never been a child by that name who died in that location. The entity had been lying from the very beginning. What they were dealing with was something much more sinister, a demonic entity that had been using the doll as a conduit to enter their world. The demon's ultimate goal wasn't to inhabit the doll permanently. It wanted to possess a human being, and Lou had been its primary target. The Warrens explained that the entity had been slowly building its power, feeding off the fear and negative energy in the apartment, preparing for a full possession. The Warrens took Annabelle to their occult museum in Connecticut, where they placed her in a specially constructed glass case. The case was blessed by a Catholic priest and surrounded by holy water. A sign was placed on the case reading, "Positively, do not open," along with a biblical warning. But even locked away, Annabelle's reign of terror wasn't over. The museum staff reported that the doll would sometimes appear to move within the case, and visitors often felt an overwhelming sense of dread when approaching her display. One of the most documented incidents occurred when a young man visited the museum with his girlfriend. After hearing Annabelle's story, he openly mocked the doll, banging on her glass case and challenging her to do something to him. The museum staff asked him to leave immediately. As the couple drove home on their motorcycle, still laughing about the ridiculous doll, the young man suddenly lost control of his bike. He died instantly in the resulting crash, while his girlfriend was hospitalized for over a year with severe injuries. Over the years, numerous other incidents have been reported. A priest who visited the museum and dismissed the doll as nonsense had his car's brakes fail on the way home, barely surviving a near-fatal accident. Visitors who showed disrespect toward the doll often experienced strange accidents or misfortunes shortly after their visit. Even the museum's security cameras have captured unexplained phenomena around Annabelle's case, including strange orbs of light and shadows that seem to move independently today. Annabelle still sits in her glass case at the Warrens Occult Museum. Even after Ed Warren's death in 2006, Lorraine Warren continued to warn people about the doll's dangerous nature until her own death in 2019. The museum staff maintains strict protocols around the doll, and she's never left unsupervised. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the Annabelle case remains one of the most well-documented paranormal investigations in history. Multiple witnesses, physical evidence, and decades of recorded incidents all point to something that science cannot easily explain. But next time you see an old doll at a garage sale or antique shop, remember Annabelle's story. Sometimes the most innocent-looking objects can harbor the darkest secrets, and sometimes bringing home the wrong thing can change your life forever. What do you think? Are you brave enough to spend a night alone with Annabelle, or would you keep as much distance as possible? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the world's most haunted objects, make sure to subscribe for more terrifying true stories. Until next time, stay curious, but stay safe. Thanks for watching. And remember, some doors are better left unopened, and some dolls are better left alone.